Oh man, I don't know what the fuck I am going to talk about today if I am completely honest with you. For some reason, I'm used to there being like a gigantic fucking light right there. And for today, of all days, I just feel like there's something missing and I can't dictate what it is. Anywho, thank you for tuning in to the seventh episode of this podcast. I could have sworn I just watched that happen already. I don't know if that just went back on me or not. Man, I guess the cool thing about doing what I do is that I'm a producer host. Yep, new name. Just made it up myself. Producer host. I'm literally like managing the fucking stream and the recordings all over there. But the cool thing about having like a reliable PC is you don't have to worry about lagging, latency, and all that good stuff. I'm just kind of letting it all happen in the background. So shit, this doesn't really if you don't care about tech stuff, you don't really care about what I'm gonna say, but I basically have my PC, my mic is being ran through this long ass XLR cable that wraps all the way to my desk underneath my bed, completely out of the way. All the wires are out of the way. And then I have my switcher, which acts as my capture card, so my Sony could record me. That is connected to the computer as well. The computer has two ports for Type C's, so that is always a wonderful thing. But what's not a wonderful thing is looking at your audio recording. For some odd reason, I have 4 tracks on my Adobe Audition file. Not too sure what that's about. So if there's one thing I've noticed about this stuff is that like you take a step up, you take a step back because once it's like I'm not at my desk, I'm in my podcast area. I'm acting as the host. I'm not even supposed to be worrying about the show right now, but for some reason I can't take my eyes off the fact that my audition's running more than 1 track of audio right now. That's weird as hell. Never done that before. I don't know what that's about. Windows is difficult to work with. I could see why Mac did such a good job because they fucking what's the word I'm looking for? They were able to simplify a lot of shit for people. And I'm people because I'm like, why is it acting so extra? I just needed to do these little small tasks. It is what it is. Thank you for tuning into to the seventh episode of the year. Shit, man, maybe we could do about 5 more, 6 more. Will beat last year's record. Um, I'm hoping that my podcast can be the reason why the podcasting. This is gonna be what keeps me consistent for the year. This is gonna be my consistent goal. I want to do one every Sunday, or at least try to do one every Sunday. You know, like get in the habit of doing one on Sundays. I think that's gonna be my life for the next 50 until I'm dead. I want I want to do a podcast like the Sunday before I die. Like if I get that choice, man. Like if I know my time's coming, I want to be able to do a podcast right before I die. Like imagine that. Oh, that would be a fucking crazy thing. Like, oh, I'm streaming. I'm gonna go. I need 3 billion views. I need to break the record before I pass away, or I'm gonna pass away knowing I didn't achieve shit. Nah, bro, for real though. I hate this is feeling that I get when I look at all my equipment. I'm like, I have so much shit, but I feel like I'm not doing enough with it. But I guess that's what you doing this every day for a year is gonna accomplish. Because if I can do this every single day and then find the look, like, cause I found the look, right? But now the issue is that I can't find like the settings. I can't like the lights locked in, the lighting locked in. It doesn't look fantastic, but it looks way better than any like camera setup that I've done for myself. Like in a room or something. And then the video itself, I'm actually more confident there, but I haven't tweaked with the streaming settings for video, like the outputs and whatnot. But for some reason, my biggest enemy lately has been mixing. See, right now I'm raw doggy in the world, bro. My earphones ain't nobody listen to that audio right now. I don't know what's coming out of those earphones. I only know based off of my last recording. I do know that this ACO driver that you have to install into Windows makes it harder for you to choose your earphones as an output. So like anytime I'm talking, like I can't like if I do a recording for some reason the player for this Windows machine doesn't play the audio back when the ACO driver is connected or work or installed or something. I don't know what the issue actually is, but that shit happens so much. I have to throw that fucking file into like a Premiere timeline or an Audition timeline so I can listen to the audio because for some reason it won't play it back for me. Even if it's a recording from Audition itself, I've noticed that. So I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna turn on this goddamn phone and I'm gonna look at my live stream to make sure that I'm doing everything properly, at least from a decent standpoint. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right. You know what? Not. What does the dude do? I'm not terribly pissed at this. So before I start this show, I'm gonna go grab me a body armor, and then we're gonna get started. All right, I'm gonna try my hardest to keep my dick off the camera this time, and sorry for the ears. If it's one thing about this fucking microphone, this little adapter right here loves to just like fall out of place for some reason. So every single time I fucking oh wait, hold on, my ASMR folks, I got y'all. There you go, you ASMR freaks. Uh, uh. Yes, sir. There you go. That is technically porn for the earlobes. I mean the ear drums or some shit. Fuck if I know, brother. All I know is I haven't did my slate yet, so I'm already mad at myself in post production. One more for good luck. All right. So usually I have my notes. I have a plan for how I'm going to do the podcast, but that was not the case today. You see, usually I'm the type of dude who likes to plan out and coordinate his days. I'm not the type for last minute festivities, and you know, if you throw my day off, I'm gonna get a little annoyed about that. So I like to stay within a timeline so that by the time it's around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, when I already don't like to do things on Sunday, I like to just relax on Sundays. I don't like to do too much. But that was not the case today. So today was a busy day. This week was a busy weekend. I think Saturday was my day off technically. I don't think I did a damn thing yesterday except for go shopping, pick up a camera, and I finished the first version of the website that I am currently building from scratch. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, APIs, Google Firebase or Cloud. Oh yeah, Firebase. You heard it here first, folks. I am officially a software developer. I'm kidding. The site's not all that. I'll give you guys a quick little sneak peek of it. It definitely took me a long ass time to even get this close. What's going on here? Oh, this isn't the site. Boy, I thought this was the live site. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I don't remember this being in it. I hope this isn't what I showed the client. There we go. So I'll just get y'all a little sneak peek. A little sneak peek. Here's my artwork. Technically. Yeah, so I made a website. It's not fully functional just yet. I need to do the pages and I need to add an API to a button that allows customers to book their own appointments and shit like that. Because, you know, we all got social anxiety and shit. So, you know, if I have to actually call you and ask you what's wrong, like what your prices are and shit like that for quotes, I'm just going to go find a website that allows you to not do that. So we're trying to, you know, capture that, like make people not call, get their questions answered on the site so that all they got to do is hit a few buttons to schedule their appointment. And then when they get their appointments, you know, make it easier on the admin and the client, the customer side. Because for the admin, hear me throw it back. I guess this is going to be my first topic, a project that I'm currently working on, but a perspective before I go into there. So it's just a typical car, a local car mechanic, and they want a site. That's it. They literally just said that. We just want a site. And I built that. But in my eyes, I see it as being something more than that. There's the customer use, right? Where the customer goes in there and fills out this information in order for them to get more, in order to get closer to using your services and giving your company money. You want that site to look appealing. You want it to look eye catching. You basically want to like reel them in, but like once they click on your site, they're kind of already sealed, right? Like as long as you don't look like you have an old ass HTML page with like no styling, or you do have styling, it's just from the 90s. You're just gonna clicked away, obviously, but your site doesn't have to be immaculate because once they click on that link and they go to your page, they're there already, right? So you just have to do something good enough to make them stay a little bit longer and go through that shit. You know, in my eyes, I think the big thing there is going to be being able to schedule your own appointments. Um, Simply like this, the main reason is because a lot of people just want to hit that button instead of having to call you and like sound stupid on the phone or something. I'm thinking of it from my perspective when I want to do these things. So it's definitely like the first thing we want to knock out is getting that button to work. But then I also want that button to basically like gather the data from the user and put that information in a place that's consumable for the owners, but also the email addresses have to get collected and we have to automate a process where we send out like emails to these emails and shit like that. And then lastly, we need the scheduling to be good enough where the user, if there's a day already booked up or a time already booked up, the user cannot select that time. I'm pretty sure the API already has all that taken care of. But basically, we want this API to we want to get certain information from this API and display it in different places. So that's like literally perfect for an API because I think it's get, pull. There's like 4 things that an API can do. I just learned about them yesterday. They delete's one of them. Get, pull, push, delete, I think. Something in that. There's 4. And essentially, we just need to collect some data and place some data in a place where other APIs can connect to that data and do something with that information. So yeah, ideally, for the customer, you're gonna go through the website. You're gonna get some questions answered about your vehicle. You're gonna learn a few things about your car, and then if you really need somebody to work on your car because you feel like you can't do it yourself or you don't have the parts, there's a few reasons why people need to like let somebody else work on their car. Then you could think about scheduling an appointment with us, but we found a way to make it easier. But it's not the only option because you can still call us, you can still email us, but you have the ability to schedule your own appointment or get a free quote. So like you just kind of literally you're just hitting buttons, and then the information that you're seeking is gonna be granted to you. Um, Other than that, that's really all the information that I have on it. All I know is that I want the user to be able to click a few buttons to schedule an appointment. And when they schedule that appointment, I want the admins or the owners to see a notification pop up on their phone saying that there's there's an appointment scheduled this day, this time for this person. Here's what's wrong with the car. Here's what the car is. You got to get that information and display it in different places, and then use those emails for cold marketing, for cold emails. Um, you can use that phone number for SMS texts. You could just leave the name in your database for like a returning customer so that they can be within your database. And then that's the cool thing about using Firebase is that they give you a database so you can call that information many different ways. So like once you store that information in your system, you can now you can build different APIs and different automations based off of the information that you stored in your actual database. Instead of using the API's database, you're using your own database. It's storing it in there, and you can collect and distribute that data as you please. So I don't really like know tech enough to be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that information. All I know is right now we need it for marketing and we need it for the admin and the customer, so that we can get those customers to return again, and also the admins can just look at their phones whenever there's a appointment scheduled. And that's where my point is that I'm trying to like get us a workflow going through this coding, and it starts with the website, and then we build out functionality that works for the user, that works for the admin, and then that works for marketing. Kind of get those 3 things going to a point where all they got to do is check in on a few things and push a few buttons, clear a few notifications, and call it a day. It's not supposed to be added on to their job. It's supposed to make their job easier, which was something that I didn't really understand at first. I'm over here like, oh, let me just do whatever I want. But Goal is for them to like literally just be like, oh, here's what tomorrow's looking like. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that's basically what I want to build for them. So I'm safe. It took so fucking long. I think I started building this shit in December. Maybe even like no, I think it was November. I think it was when the homie went to Hawaii. It was right before he went to Hawaii. So November, December, October, January, February, and it's March. It took me 5 months just to build one page of HTML, CSS, and there was a few things overall, but I guess what I learned is that you just got to stick to it, because the first headache was the actual nav bar. I'm over here like, dog, like, oh my god, the nav bar was it was a nightmare because I didn't know how to make it responsive, and honest to God, I still don't have it perfect yet. Like I wanted it to like roll up when the screen hit a certain size. So like if it's a mobile view, it's just those little 3 bars in the corner. But if it's the web view, the nav bar is displayed across the right corner. You know, like a typical website. I couldn't do it, so I just made the text of each section of the nav. So like, you know, the home, the blog button, the ball, you know, those little words in the corner of your screen. I just wanted those, but I just had those motherfuckers shrink as the screen got smaller and stayed within the same spot, and even that was like difficult. Then I had to find out how to like put the fucking logo in the left corner and keep that shit in the left corner the entire time. That right there alone was hell. That like when I was making it, I was like, I'm not doing this shit, bro. Like I can't do this. It's taking me too long. So I kept telling the dude that I work with, I'm like, dude, like shit, like you might as well use a fucking website builder because it's gonna be faster than me. But then that's when I realized that I was like, but that's the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want the website builder to. If I'm gonna build this shit, like I don't want it to be on a website builder where I don't even have access to the server. I can't add as many domains to this as I want to. All I could really do is rebuild a bunch of templates, which there's a bunch of libraries for code. You could just use the libraries from like different, like I don't even know them enough to like talk about them. All I know is that there's definitely ways to like use templates with code. So, like boilerplates, I guess, like just like lay a layout, you know. I didn't want to like limit myself to using a website builder, and in all honesty, I can't really control. And if I was gonna pay for anything, like let me just pay for cloud storage and databases instead of paying for if you like, templates and a server and one domain name. I can make as many domain names as I want. Obviously, it's gonna cost a little bit more, but if I I know how to host a website from scratch now, as opposed to using a template and hitting the publish button on Google Sites, WordPress, Wix, Webflow. Like these applications are wonderful for people who don't. Okay, I guess what I didn't like, I used Dynadot originally, right? I started off with Squarespace, and then I was like, $20 for a domain. Are you crazy? Dynadot selling theirs for like $6. There's still domains out there cheaper than that. I remember I had to I ended up in order for like I remember there was like options that you could add into your code into your website. So like you could drag and drop a text for your header, drag and drop some images, but you were limited to what that web development environment. I wouldn't even call it a web. That's IDE. Well, the website builder. Whatever they had, whatever their inventory was, whatever their library was all that you can build out of. And then if you wanted anything extra, you'd have to add in your own code, which you needed certain access to, or certain features you needed to pay a certain amount in order to access that functionality. Once I seen that was the first time when I was like, I have to pay to put code in this thing. What if I built the code myself? I have to pay to put my own code in my website developer, in my web page. That's when it was like, I don't really like the idea of this. And then I realized that that's just how Dynadot got down. And there was way stronger web development pages out there, or web builders out there. Can't even call it web development. It's web builders. I tried Webflow. And then I was like, okay, this thing is basically just as difficult as coding, so I'm just going to fucking code it. So in Webflow, I just used a template and like changed a few things. But it never felt like I had as much control as I thought I did, as I wanted to have. Like I wanted to be able to use. I didn't know how to use an API for Webflow, so I was like, I'm not even gonna try to. I don't even care. I'm just gonna code it at this point, and then that was before the nav bar, and then I did the nav bar, and I got success with it, and then it was time to like build out the rest of the page. So it took me like 2 months just to come up with a mock-up that I ended up doing on Adobe Illustrator in like a day or two. Then I had to like break down the code in like sections so I could only do certain sections at a time. It was literally me writing a bunch of code, deleting a bunch of code, writing a bunch of code, deleting a bunch of code, and writing a bunch of code, deleting a bunch of code, like a back and forth, like me. And in between those days, I'm like, oh, yep, I'm doing this. I love it. I love it. I can totally do this. And then it followed by a big, like I'm telling you, you go like this, like you catch a little bit of heat, and then crash. Catch a little bit of crash. That's what it felt like every fucking time I came home and had to think about working on the site. You're like, I wish I did this 10 years ago so that these problems were like light work. But then that's when you realize this is just the beginning. So, of course, it's going to be difficult and challenging. You just got to get past these. These are mountains. And then I think this was the first time I've ever understood like the ups and the downs of a challenge, because those highs, like when you finally solve the problem that you've been having, it is miraculous. You're like, oh my God, fucking finally. And then phase two is 10 times more difficult and 10 times more challenging. And you are back in that. You're thinking that same thing you were thinking the first issue. You're like, God, it's just that thing in the back of your head that you can't knock out. But you know you should be working on it relentlessly, but sometimes that shit just defeats you, bro. And then you get past that one and you're like, well, fuck. Well, I mean, shit, if I could do that, I can keep going. That's literally what it was. I kept crashing, but then like I would kind of like hold off on it way too long. I'm telling you. Like literally, I just like the issue that I was having now, and it always comes back to the same thing. I have to rewrite the code that I fucking did, and that's what I always try to regret them. I try to avoid doing the most is rewriting code that I previously thought I was confident in. So you build it and you're like, yep, that works, and then you run it and you're like, that's not working the way I expected it to, and then you get like indications of a big problem that you think isn't that big. The computer's just wrong, or whatever like article you're looking at is just wrong. It's not the problem that you're looking at, but it's been the problem the entire fucking time. And you just don't know it because you're not experienced enough. And then you finally say, fuck it, maybe that's the reason. So you go back and do all that extra work, and then it ends up being the fucking issue. And you're like, why didn't I just listen to my instinct the first time? But in problem solving, or I guess that's what software development is, right? It's problem solving. But in that problem solving like moment is when you realize that like your mindset really is everything. Because if you're going at it, you only have a short amount of time that's already on your head. I don't have that much time. I'm going to get tired soon, or I have to go do this in a little while, so I only have this amount of time to work on it. Or you don't go in there thinking about it too heavy. Like your mindset is really everything. A lot of things can stop you from like getting past that barrier. I'm going to call it a barrier. You want to your mindset dictates how you get over barriers. Because if you look at the barrier and you think to yourself, this is a challenge I cannot overcome, how the fuck are you going to pull yourself together to overcome that challenge? But if you look at it from the lens of, I've been here before, I know what it takes to accomplish or to find success when these things happen. Am I going to persevere long enough to find that success though? Am I going to thug it out? Because the longer that I wait, the longer the problem stays. But the quicker I attack this shit, the faster it goes away. So it's really up to you and like how you think about it, which is why I think mindset is the number one reason why you are either getting over barriers or being blocked by barriers. You're either getting past them or you're not. And your mindset dictates all of that. I never really understood that until I started like working for like a company where you like really have to rely on each other to get the job done, because a lot of people put barriers in their way. And like a guy like me, I'm notorious for what is it called? Self-destruction, where you basically like you get in your own way, you make things harder on yourself, and you take the joy out of everything you love, right? You actually do enjoy a lot of things in life, but for some reason it's harder for you to enjoy certain things because your mindset is like those pathways are used to being redirected in moments like this. So it's going to redirect unintentionally when you're trying to stay on this path. It's going to lead you over here. So you control those pathways. You control your mindset. Do not get in the way of your own blessings. Get over those barriers and remind yourself of when you felt this way before. Cuz don't give a fuck. It could be the tiniest amount of it. It could be the largest amount of it. There has been times where we've been faced with adversity. There's been times where we've been faced with trouble, annoyance, stress, negativity, and we still had to wake up in the morning and live through it, right? So the question is, how do we get past that? How do we get over that? It's not as easy as just believing it. It's not as easy as just fucking saying it and hoping that it goes away, because obviously that's not how things work in the world. I think that how is this thing playing? Oh, it's playing music through the YouTube's playing, so my earphones are getting it. It's not just gonna happen. It's like a habit that you instill in yourself that you rely on when these moments arise. So the weaker that mindset, the weaker that habit, the weaker you are in that moment. It goes back into that feeling uncomfortable thing. When you feel uncomfortable, you got to get used to that so that when it presents itself, you know how to operate still instead of shutting down it presents itself. You know, I think that that's what leaders are best at, is not showing that they're uncomfortable, not showing that they're scared. Think of your parent in a moment where you felt terrified, but the minute you saw them or realized that they were in your presence, everything changed. That's a leader in your life. You know, I don't give a fuck who it is. That person in your life is able to just simply fucking be there. They don't even have to be in the room. You just know they're alive. And it gives you this at ease feeling. That is who we have to be for the younger generation. So I don't know why the fuck I'm getting in on that, but those are some things, those are traits that I want to possess. And I'm just these lessons that I go through now are things that I'm starting to realize help me become that person, because like I shut down from anxiety all the fucking time. I let my emotions get in my way. I don't always think rationally, and when I'm uncomfortable, it shows. And I can't snap out of it like everybody else can. And I'm gonna keep it a band with you. This little guy right here is a huge factor for that, because if I'm high as hell in public, I'm gonna act awkward. But if I'm not, then I'm gonna act very extroverted. It's such an imbalance. I can't stand it. Because if I'm high in public, I'm very antisocial. But if I'm not high in public, I'm a little too social and annoying. Like, I don't like that, because like when I'm being too social, I feel like an annoyance. I feel like I'm being judged. I feel like I'm causing all this attention that I don't really want. And then when I'm antisocial, I feel like I'm doing the opposite. So it's like a battle that I can never really win. So obviously the goal there is to find a balance between those two things, and going out more is really what causes that. So yeah, that's some things that I kind of want to change about myself, is that like I get the highs and the lows. Those are things that I need to fix, because it started with that code thing, because I seen myself falling in these habits of when it's working, I feel this confidence and I feel like I can do it all, and then like I try to rush it, and then I fuck it up because I'm not working at it with in a goal oriented way. I'm just kind of trying to get done what I can get done right now. And it's weird because like yesterday when I finished it, I was like, today is gonna be the day I fucking knock this out, because this is the only day that I truly have to work on it. So I had to convince myself to push through it. And it's, oh my God, it's weird, because once you finally find like a slimmer or like a glimpse of success, you like fucking like claw at it. Like you're like, open up, bitch, give me it all, because now you know that it's there. You're like, oh, there it is. Okay, now I just gotta keep going further. So that's what I felt like yesterday. So, that is what this isn't really like what I learned, but something that I was able to take away from previous transgressions or previous situations is that your mindset really dictates how far you'll go. Your mindset really dictates how you get over barriers. Your mindset really dictates a lot of how you carry yourself. Like your mindset really is everything. And this isn't from a book. This is a straight personal lesson. Me understanding, looking at my situation and looking at about how it could be better. So yeah, yeah, that's what software development has kind of led me to. I love being able to turn these situations into like, I don't know, I like it. So yeah, software development is pretty cool. Ideally, the goal in the future is to understand it enough to work it, to intertwine it with like video work and like understand how plugins, extensions are made, make some for myself and how I can make my life easier. Like I already know there's timestamp markers out there for OBS and stuff, but like until the day, one day you're gonna see a little, just like Noel Miller, Cody Co. Shout out to the homegirl Sarah. She put me onto them niggas. I'm jealous of them so badly. They're kind of the reason why I kept this chair, because they had it on their podcast, and I was like, see, you could get comfortable on your shit. You don't have to be in like this set. You could just be nice and relaxed, bro. Like I want my guests to feel relaxed. Anyway, there's gonna be a fucking control, a device. I wanted it to be my switcher. Don't think that's gonna be the case. I'm assuming it's gonna be a Stream Deck. Every time I do this, I am creating a clip or a marker note so that when I open up my Premiere Pro timeline, I see my marker notes and I make the cut, because that indicates that this is either a clip or a sequence, And then I wanted to get smart enough to be able to dictate those two things. I want to be able to make straight live cuts from my from my fingertips, so that by the time I get into editing, I already understand which portion of my show I'm going to focus on first, you know? I want to go into my fucking my project file and see all the segments cut up already. I don't want someone to do that. I can do that from my fingertips right here. I just need to understand how to program software to do that, and I need to find out how to get that software onto a hardware device that can receive that information and execute it. So yeah, I was hoping that would be my switcher, but I think it's gonna end up being a Stream Deck, or is it called a Stream Deck, or is it? Yeah, I think it's called a Stream Deck, right? A little thing we have a bunch of buttons on them, and maybe even do things with overlays and shit like that. But truth be told, I don't see myself, especially if it's just me, I don't really see myself doing too many overlays, because with overlays, I don't know, I think that requires another person here. But overall, I just want to be able to like make like editing decisions from my fingertips while the show's live, and then when I do like actual producing for other people, I can do the same thing there. And then eventually, this is if you have the luxury of having 2 people on set, 3 people, 4, a group of people, a team. Eventually, like I want my timeline to be filled with markers. It would be nice if we can get nested sequences, but I doubt that that's going to be the case. Like I have a vision for like how you can redistribute content from a live show immediately, but also like you can come back to it, and when you come back to it, like you have such a breakdown that you don't even have to watch the whole video. You just need to find the timestamps and then edit that portion of the fucking video. Like ideally, timestamps, markers, and marker descriptions are what I want to like find a workflow in, so that I can talk to my editors from my fingertips live. So by the time that the project gets sent to them, I don't even have to open it in Premiere. I just grab everything they need, throw it in a project folder, deliver it to them. They download everything that they need, and all they got to do is look at the fucking markers, and then they shouldn't even have to ask me questions, but obviously they can if they fucking need to. I just want it to be like that for them. I know it's not like the biggest deal. I just want to be able to do that from my fingertips. Like from a live stream, I just feel like me and the editor would work a lot better that way. And also, it would eliminate the need for them to have to reach out to me if I'm like busy or some shit like that, or like if there's a communication. I don't know how helpful that would actually be to editors, now that I think about it, because then they can just watch it, right? They're editors, they're just supposed to watch it. But I feel like if you give them a breakdown before they watch it, they could make the decisions a lot faster, instead of having to do that first pass. Because I've edited 4-hour clips before. Like I've edited an hour clip for four, and you play it back so that you can get a good understanding. But sometimes you make a few early cuts, and then you go back and watch it again, and you make even more cuts, and then you delete your shit, and then you jam that all together. Now it's about 45 minutes, and you watch that back, see how that goes, and then you add in like the 4 passes. I basically want the first pass to get consolidated with the first 2, so that there's 3 passes. And now like I just want to find out what they need from me in order to make their jobs easier. Before, like, I want my editor to like work with me the first time and be like, my nigga, that was the easiest shit I ever did, and I got good pay. Like, that's the job that I want to create for the editors. But also ideally it's so that we could redistribute content fast. And then if things get lost along in translation, you gotta, you'll have more room to improve on how to make it better. Ideally, this is basically just me saying that I want to have a stream deck where I can make marker notes, but I won't be able to fill in those marker notes with data, which is why I'm saying the things that I'm saying now, because of how advanced technology is getting, bro. Like, I'm speaking into a microphone, and SRT files exist. There are like YouTube, Instagram, they do these live captions, right? So imagine if like I hit a button and it recorded for 30 seconds. It didn't even have to actually record anything. It marked the timestamp at this time, and then it recorded and transcribed the SRT into the description of the marker note, so that whatever I said for those 30 seconds goes directly into the marker note. Now all you gotta do is pop up in the marker note, and you're gonna see what the fuck. It's probably gonna say marker note 2, but the description is gonna be in what I said for 30 seconds. Now you're gonna get a good introduction on what the fuck I'm talking about. So you'll know what segment this is based off what I started talking about the minute I click that button, because I'm not clicking that button for no reason. Where that button gets clicked is where that marker lives, where a cut should be applied, and that's indicating the start and the stop of a new segment. So where the first marker note ends represents that this is the beginning of the intro, and this is the end of the prelude. Then the next one would be segment 1, end of intro. The next one would be segment 2, end of segment 1. That is the workflow that I want to create, and I know I'm not the only one who's done this. This is just, I want to be able to develop this software, knowing that there's technology out there that already does it, but I got to be familiar with a software developer's mindset, a software developer's perspective, a video editor's perspective, so that we can always have control. At the end of the day, that's all it's about, is having the most control over the project. And it's not even under my control. I just want to be able to understand it from both perspectives. And I think that it would be cool to have to build software for people that I want to work with in the future. And then also understand this person, like understand both workflows. I don't know what I see in that. But the ability when I seen Riverside spit out an XML file after I went live, I was like, that is what I want to send my editors. But my XML, and they're one step away. You can't add descriptions into your fucking marker notes. You can make the marker button, and like, you can't do shit with the marker information though. I want to be able to do shit with the marker information like this. Just boop. Now I'm talking. So it would be like, all right, so now I'm going to get into the next segment. I just pressed a button, meaning that the segment has just begun. In this segment, we're going to be talking about this, this, and this. And then I get into the rest of the segment, and that recording stops in about 12 seconds. Now, when that recording stops, it only collects that data. You click on the marker in Premiere Pro, you're going to be like, oh, what the fuck does this say? Oh, look, it's the beginning of that. I know exactly what segment this is. And then when you go to the next marker, it'll be the end of that mark. So you have your sequence right then and there. Cut. This is a YouTube video. Post that on YouTube immediately the next day. Who gives a fuck? You have your YouTube video, and then you make those cuts. You have your YouTube videos. Now you go into those sequences, and now you have a bunch of clips to make out of those sequences or YouTube videos. So ideally, it's just like skipping a step and making it a bit faster to redistribute that content. And then like I haven't even thought about like the analytics standpoint and shit like that. Honest to God, I'm really only thinking about it from the system, like how operations are gonna work. So yeah, that's how I see it. Ideally, XML files, software development, video editing, just video in general is like what I've kind of been familiarizing myself with for the past 2 to 5 years, almost like 2018 to now. I started off with video editing. I still like when I first started doing video editing, it was because I liked music and I understood video editing because I had an iPad. I found like I fell for the content creator thing where like you have an iPad or like a device, like you want to make content, so you start making it. Um, but when you make it, you have to use like free applications and shit. You don't know what you're missing out on. Time for me to rage. Where the fuck is my wax pen? You don't really know what you're missing out on when you do it originally because, you don't know what the fuck goes into the software to make it good or bad. These softwares are really good at making it easy for you to learn the fundamentals, like video editing, for example. First thing that I think I used was iMovie. What can you do in iMovie? You can add text overlays, image overlays. Like when you would watch Vines and you would see niggas with like emojis in their fucking videos. How the fuck you do that? Oh, they added an overlay using fucking iMovie. Niggas was really making viral Vines on iMovie, and then Vine said, "Why don't we just turn that? Why don't we just give them the ability to edit videos? Take those same fundamentals from video editing software and add it into our own, so that they don't have to keep going to other software to make these videos." Right now, the hot one is CapCut. So think so iMovie and there's probably better ones. iMovie and CapCut were like or what creates viral videos in 2023 and 2014. So iMovie was like they had the ability to cut, the ability to add multiple tracks, or maybe I don't even know if you could add multiple tracks. I just remember I like edited for the first time on iMovie, and then you were able to add credits, and those were like templates. They had a little bit of everything to make you feel like a decently good video editor. So like, honest to God, it's very, don't get mad at me, editors, because I know there's really good editors out there who will do this for a living. And when I say what I'm about to say, I don't mean it in like a anybody can do your job thing, but anybody can be a video editor in 2023 because TikTok, Instagram exist, YouTube exists, photos you could trim in there, bro. Like, it's like the fundamentals have been instilled into like this younger generation. So really anybody can video edit. It's just those who take it to further lengths are the ones who help it become so easy to use because they understand when they were in our shoes in the beginning. So I started off with iMovie, and then after a while, I was like, there has to be a fucking application that's paid. Watch, and then that one's gonna be like fucking amazing, and like it's gonna be so powerful. I might not even need a laptop, bro. So I looked for like paid video editing apps. And I discovered LumaFusion. LumaFusion was actually like what taught me how to edit videos. And not just in a way of like editing, but exporting, understanding resolution, understanding bitrate, understanding compression, understanding 4K 1080, 720p, understanding file management. I didn't know anything about that shit until I started using LumaFusion. And then I went to go export shit. And then after like a 60-minute, I remember those days like it was fucking yesterday. Oh my God. I would like go downstairs, go smoke, work out a little bit, feed the dogs, do the dishes, come upstairs. Export failed. Every time I seen those fucking words, doom. Every time. Turns out I would always fucking like export a video in the highest resolution possible. 4K, 30 frames per second. I didn't even know anything about FPS at the time. I just knew about quality. I didn't even know about how smooth the video would look if you had it in 24 frames, 30 frames, or 60 frames. All I knew was turn the fucking camera on. It was an iPhone, bro. What the fuck? Default settings are good enough. iPhone 6 by the way. Oh, God. That's really the idea. You could do anything. I just didn't do shit with the shit that I had. Uh-oh. see without him. Oh man, that one hurt like a bitch. That one hurt like a biscuit on a stick. What did that nigga say? Ass cheek on a stick. Um, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I got faded as fuck and completely forgot my point. Oh yeah, and then I started getting into video editing. So I like not knowing now, but back then, like I was learning export settings like a motherfucker. I learned do not export that bitch in 4K. Do not export that bitch if you only got 3 gigs of fucking memory on your goddamn iPad. So I was very conscious about that type of stuff. So I had to only export things a certain way for a long time. Like I said, like I learned a whole new thing. Before it was just cuts and text overlays. Now it's like keyframing, keyframing, animating. Not even animating, like transitions and shit like that. Little decent transitions. Um, Animating the text overlays. Speeding up speed ramps, which is also like a form of keyframing. Let's see, green screening. I finally learned how to green screen at that time. Like King. I don't think that. I think that's about it. I got stuck right there for my iPad, and then I wanted to animate my intro because like that's why I want to code now. The mentality of like I want to do it originally. I don't want to do it off a template, please. I would like to be able like I'll copy somebody else's work, but like I want to do the work. I don't want to like take their work and then switch it up a little bit. Cause that's the end of the day what everybody was fucking doing. Like these little, oh, all you gotta do is type in your name and we'll animate a logo for you. Way easier for like, okay, I could see that for like marketing and other shit like that. But like for somebody who like loves it and sees it as like art, an artist isn't gonna want to like that. They'll use the paintbrushes that other people made. They're not gonna make their own paintbrushes and shit, right? They're not gonna like physically make their own canvas, but they're gonna find the proper like tools to make that artwork. And oh shit, I mean, you're using like a computer, you're using Adobe, you're using like applications that other companies created to create that artwork. So I guess these are the new forms. These are the digital paintbrushes and shit like that, right? Because we literally have digital paintbrushes now. Anyway, an artist isn't gonna like use other people's literal art, paint over it, and call it their own. Like they'll repaint your shit and then put a spin on it, but they will not like paint over your shit. And I don't know. I don't know what my point was there. I like the idea of website builders and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I want to learn how to do it myself. I can't get the reason for that. Maybe it's just like an ego thing. Like I want to be able to say I did it from scratch. Because obviously you don't want to do that with everything because it's not efficient. But I at least want to understand the basics of it all. I remember seeing something about that in like either like a YouTube video I watched, a documentary that I watched, an interview that I watched, book that I read. It was somewhere where it was like the director has to be able to understand every single role. They have to be able to understand it from every single perspective. Every single person who's contributing to that film, they have to understand it from all of it, all departments. So that's what kind of like gave me the mentality of learn a little bit of everything in whatever you're doing, whatever goal you're trying to chase, whatever like you're. I don't know where that could really be applied to in all honesty, but for me, it gets applied to owning a business. You got to learn what you want in it first of all, what you want out of it, and then you kind of want to know like the ins and the outs. At least that's how I see it. So if I want to hire a software developer, I don't want to be talking out of my ass. I know that I'll only have a certain amount of knowledge on it, but I at least want to be able to hold a regular conversation with my software developer and not feel stupid when we're having this conversation. Even if I just did a lot of smaller projects, like I still want to understand enough to not be like pushed around in negotiations and shit like that just because this guy's hella good. I don't know. I think it's just like a pride ego thing, but I just want to be able to know that I understand each position that I'm working with, which I don't think that's gonna happen for all of them. I don't know what it is. I have a goal in there that like I want to be versatile with certain things. So video editing was the first thing that I picked up, and software development would be the next thing. I did videography for a little while. The yeah, cause yeah, I don't even yeah. It's like a bunch of half built pillars. It's like the foundation's already fucking there. They just need to be risen, not more just keep getting made. So software development is just another thing I added onto the list. So software development, photography, videography, video editing, content creation, writing. Six. I used to customize shoes, podcasting, producing podcasts, live stream. Well, yeah, that's producing, like video production, owning a business. So like all those things kind of like in my eyes fall into that owning a business part, because like software development could pay for life for a few years. It could be a stable job at the end of the day, but also knowing how to talk, knowing how computers work is a thing. I think I don't know. I think knowing how computers talk is cool, and I'm like, I'm not a really fast learner, so when I talk to people about tech and they like take it to a whole nother conversation, I'm like, oh my god, I thought I knew a thing or two, and then they just fucking spaz out with a quick little ramble, and you're just like, fuck, I don't even know what that means. Um, yeah. So it's like trying to find the difference between hobbies and jobs, seeing which ones of these are. Um, the goal is to build a side hustle that can like keep up with my job, and then when that side hustle starts making me more money, that job would I would just focus on the side hustle at that point, and I'm hoping that's within 2 years. Um, and then being versatile with many things is another goal of mine. So that's why I'm like not mad that I have too many, but it's like there's no way in hell I'm gonna be a master at like six of these things. Like I only want to be a master at one or two of them, but I also just want to understand a few of them too. You know, it's like music. Just because there's more, just because like there's multiple genres. You don't just like one version of rap and only listen to that. You like multiple things. So I just want to be like that with skills. Like just kind of like how are looking for patterns in them, because like there's always like when you talk to three people who love what they do and they make money from it, or not, then maybe they're not doing it for me. Like like the art, right? Think of an artist. When you think of an artist, you typically think of somebody who like loves to create what they create. Like you think of that type of like relationship with their work. And a lot of artists tend to like not take the money route. Like they'll make their hella money, but like shit gets sold like way down the line when they're like dead, and it gets sold for like way more than would have when they were alive. I don't know how the painting stuff works. All I know is that typically it's not for the money. True artists get offended when you think when they feel like it's about the money. So, oh fuck, there it is again. Notoriously forgetting my points. Oh man, I need a fucking co-host, bro. Uh, hmm. And I'm only going live so that I can do it in the future regularly and not have to stress about it. So like these were literally just supposed to be like recordings for podcasts. Then I was like, let me get comfortable with this setup that I have while I can. Um, Anywho, I think I hate that I forgot my point. Being able to intertwine all of those skills, I can't really come up with a true reason on why I like it. I know some of them may come and go, like videography kind of came and went, but I still understand how to like work a camera. Not, and that there it is that when you're not good at, like you can't be good at all of them. You can only be decent because you're not going to put your time. You don't have enough time in the day to put your full attention in all of these things. You can really only do it to one, two, three of them if you're lucky, and if you get really good at it, I guess you could do it more. But like, still only a certain amount of time in the day. So, whatever one you spend your most time working on and have like the highest goal for is the one that's probably going to receive the most attention. Obviously, if it gets the most time spent on it, and the rest of them, I guess, would fall to be like hobbies and shit, right? Because they just kind of they don't get worked on as much. You do them when you can. You look forward to it, and with software development, like I look forward to coding, but I look forward to getting the result more than coding. I look forward to being able to like, okay, I created what I wanted, but I would much rather be able to like tell somebody else how to do it. You know, it's. But then, that's what I learned from those markers with video editing. I'm not like a great video editor, but like any time I would do a long ass recording, there's a few things that I hated. I rambled way too fucking much, meaning if I have markers, it's easier for you to skim through that fucking recording. Um, Two, I would always shoot separate audio from my camera, so I always had to sync that up. And learning how to sync up audio without somebody teaching you how to actually do it is annoying as shit because you either catch it or you don't. It took me like a year and a half to truly understand how to do it properly. Shout out to the rate stretch tool on Premiere Pro. And a fucking slate. You could do this too, but I just like the slate more. Obviously, bougie shit. So yeah, I say a lot. Knowing how to like being able to provide that little tiny thing. You know what I mean? So like me understanding how extensions work, I can make extensions not beyond what I think I can if I just keep applying myself. And like it all starts with the little web page because you have to understand how all of these like I know how HTML, CSS work more than I ever have before. Like I could look at my HTML and see where mistakes are now way more than I ever had before. Like I have so much progress compared to like a year ago, even though I've had so much time I have so many opportunities to learn it. But I'm telling you, I'm a slow learner, so it takes me a while to really like get the hang of it. I guess I'm just proud of my own progress. Uh, so with the markers thing, that kind of shows you why I like that because I don't even know what to call this. I guess this is more producer role right here, right? Where managing the audio, managing the video, and then like letting the host do their thing. I'm a producer in that case. Mixing audio a little bit, switching the video board. But in this case I'm just recording and I could literally just have the camera recording and recording this into my computer. But an issue that I had in the past was that I had an annoying time syncing up audio. So I was like, I need to find a way to smash these bitches together and put that on the YouTube video. And then back then the idea was, why not just go live? Because I don't have the setup for that. Now I do. So I'm like, I'm testing this shit while I can. None of this shit's even being like used for content. It's just seeing what this looks like. And it's weird seeing myself so many fucking different times. And then seeing my audio file right there. It's weird. I came a long fucking way and this isn't even my shit. So I can't wait till the day I actually have like my own shit that I paid for. Right now it's just kind of like me temporarily using my company stuff until we get a better situated office, or maybe we're just going to be working remote for good. I don't really know. But we're working remotely now and it's a cool setup to have. I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Thank you, Tyler, Cody. Real niggas. For real, for real. But yeah. Anyway, I should probably like wrap this thing up pretty soon now though. Probably had a point that I was going into, lost it. I am high as fucking shit right now. Golly, like I like fucked up this podcast entirely. Jesus, here I am with my. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, being the producer and shit, middleman guy. Middlemen get automated, bro. That's what I do know. So, understanding how software works allows you to be able to see how you can replicate yourself, so that all people have to do is press a few buttons and they could host their own podcast, produce their own podcast on their fingertips, so that like I could provide that type of shit, you know. Um, I think that code gives you that power, weirdly enough. And then when I was building sites, when I was building my site for my shit, I never really seen it that way. So that I'm further in here, I'm like, wait, yeah, it does just start with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? You just got to understand those fundamentals. Those are the fundamentals of software development. Let's face it. I mean, I don't even know if those are the fundamentals, but those are the basic three languages. Um, in film, you have what video. I'm trying to make comparisons for code and film, I guess, right? Movies, video, because code is basically a language for computers and human beings to communicate with each other. But it's a computer's language. And then there's other languages that that do certain things to this computer. I don't fucking know how to explain a computer anyway. I can't really. I'm looking it up. What is code? In communications and in communications and information processing, code is a system of rules to convert information, such as letter, word, sound, image, or gesture, into another form, sometimes shortened or secret, for communication through a communication channel or storage in a storage in medium. Hmm. So there's a compiler on these computers. When code is passed through it, it executes certain programs. It executes certain actions and functions that people program and develop to do certain things. So like think about it, like you put a CD in your stereo and that motherfucker starts playing music. So somebody wrote the music, but you put this disc into a stereo and told it to play this music. No. I'm trying to explain like a floppy disk, because you can get that same CD, put it in a computer, copy the files from that CD, and burn it onto another CD. With like a CD burner thing that they used to have, right? Used to burn CDs and shit. You're just copying files onto another file. You're gathering data and passing it through the computer to pass that data onto another device. So when you have a Scantron and you run it through a machine, it passes that information. So yeah, they had these little cards. So oh god, it started with a little awl thing where you like poke holes in it, and it like that those are like little programming sheets. Think of them like Scantrons. Like you pass little punches through little holes through this machine, and it calculates. And these fuckers came a long way. Computers are fucking nuts. Ooh, I wish I had like a structured idea of how to explain the fucking like advancement of technology now, but it started with that fucking let's look up the history of computers. The history of computers. I'm telling you, it started with this fucking sewing machine that they used to store data. And it's like literally all we do now is like we get this like data, we convert it in so many different ways to do so many different things. But it all started with this thing called binary code, which derived from Morse code, and then you realize that these are just different forms of languages, and like just like speaking fucking Spanish to a Mexican and telling them to go do this at this time and do this. They come back and it's either done or it's not. But shit, likely there's a chance that you either told it to do something wrong, or even if you told it to do the exact thing you needed it to do, did it come back correctly? Because people are more liable to make mistakes than computers are. But it also depends on the person who programmed that bitch. So if you're, is it good for Michael to be developing software? Let his friends answer that question. It's gonna be a fat fucking no. The history of computers. A brief timeline. 1, 2, 3. Oh man, I just sneezed. Um, the history of computers began with primitive designs in the early 19th century and went on to change the world during the 20th century. The history of computers goes back to 2000 to 200 years. At first theorized by mathematicians and entrepreneurs, during the 19th century, mechanical calculating became uh, machines were designed and built to solve the increasingly complex number crunching challenges. The advancement of technology enabled ever more complex computers by the early 20th century, and computers became larger and more powerful. Today, computers are the most unrecognizable are almost unrecognizable of the 19th century, such as Charles Babbage's analytical engine, or even from the huge computers of the 20th century that occupied whole rooms, such as the electronic numerical integrator and calculator. Here's a brief history of computers, from their primitive number crunching origins to the powerful modern day machines that surf the internet, run games, and stream multimedia. Which is crazy. Nigga, these bitches used to be fucking like calculators, nigga. Abacuses. The things you fucking moved when you were a kid side to side, those were calculators. Joseph Marie Jacquard, a French merchant and inventor, invents a loom, that's what it was called, that uses punched wooden cards to automatically weave fabric designs. Keyword, bitches, automatically. Early computers would use similar punch cards. 1821. English mathematician Charles Babbage conceives a stream-driven calculating machine that would be able to compute tables of numbers. Funded by the British government, the project called Difference Engine fails due to the lack of technology at the time, according to the University of Minnesota. Okay. 1848. Ada Lovelace, an English mathematician and the daughter of the poet Lord Byron, writes the world's first computer program. According to Anne Siffert, a professor of the theoretical mathematics at the University of Munster in Germany, Lovelace writes the first program while translating a paper on Babbage's analytical engine from English to French. She also provides her own comments on the text. Her annotations, simply called notes, turn out to be 3 times as long as the actual transcript. Cipher wrote in the article The Max Planck Society. Lovelace also adds a step-by-step description for computation of Bernoulli's numbers with Babbage's machine. Basically an algorithm which in effect makes her the world's first computer programmer. Am I stupid? That's the fucking shit. That was fucking hard to read. Either I'm retarded or Jesus. Okay, so this thing looked pretty cool. Sorry to the viewers, but it looks like a fucking... It looks like an engine. Like a little mini engine. Swedish inventor Per Gord. It's George without a fucking E at the end. Gorg? I'm gonna call him George anyway. Schutz. I don't even know how to pronounce that. And his son Edward designed the world's first printing calculator. Okay. So is this before the typewriter? The machine is significant for the first to compute tabular differences and print the results, according to Yuta C. Merzbach's book, George Shoots and the First Printing Calculator. Herman Hollowworth designs a punch card system to, this is 1890 by the way. A system to calculate the 1890 census. The machine saves the government several years of calculations and the U.S. taxpayer approximately $5 million. Hollowworth later establishes a company that will become the IBM Corporation, IBM, which stands for International Business Machines. Okay, so they were the first ones to get their hands on these devices. Okay, so let's run it back a little bit. Now that we know that it went from a device that didn't have a fucking power button. Reminder, this shit did not, you did not plug this bitch, and maybe you just had to get the engines up and going. Like, you had to get the motion going in order for these things to like punch holes and shit. So it's the history of the computers goes back to, okay, it's the loom. All right. So now we know IBM has stepped into the picture. We know, at least for me, I know that IBM is known for having gigantic business machines. Like, if you look up IBM 1880s or something shit, 1890s, you'll just see a bunch of gigantic machines. Why is my shit tweaking, bro? Turn on my Wi-Fi real quick. All right. Oh, come on, bro. I'm just trying to read it. Okay. Punch card. Okay. Printing calculator was from Smith. Yep. IBM. All right. In 1931, at MIT, Vannevar Bush invents and builds the differential analyzer, the first large-scale automatic general-purpose mechanical analog computer. Huh. Automatic. Do it on its own without us having to touch it. A few little buttons here and there and it does it. What used to be manual labor has now became automatic. That is the purpose of these computers. So there's where punch cards, scantrons and shit with holes in them. Telling the machine to do this at this time when you see this hole. And then somehow, some way, those are going to become pixels. A British scientist, mathematician, presents the principle. Like, look, these in 1931, 5 years later, a British scientist and mathematician presents the principle of universal machine, later called the Turing machine, in a paper called On Computable Numbers. Machines are capable of computing anything that is computable. Don't know what that means at the time. The central concept of the modern computer is based on his ideas. Turing is later involved in the development of the Turing Walkman Bombay, an electromechanical device designed to decipher Nazi codes. There it is, during World War II. So he was decoding the shit. Yeah. Which I guess is like another way of, like, when you think of exporting, when you convert footage from B-RAW to MP4, you are transcoding that bitch, I think. You are basically changing the way that it is being, like, the binary. I don't even think it's the binary. I think you're just encoding it differently. But you're basically turning it into something else. And they basically were able to elaborate that to the whatever side they were on. Next, this is 2 years later. John Vincent Atonsoff, a professor of physics and mathematics at Iowa State, submits a grant proposal to build the first electric-only computer without using gears, cams, belts, or shafts. So this is still before you had to plug shit. Like, what the fuck, brother? These are still like engines and shit. This is like motion, energy. Like, this isn't like AC, DC power. Wow. 1937. I don't even know how long ago that was, bro. I'm not going to do the math. I have a phone right here that could. I'm not gonna do it though. David Packard sounds familiar, and Bill Hewlett, HP, found the Hewlett Packard Company in Palo Alto, California. The pair decided to name the new decide the, the pair decided the name of their new company by the toss of a coin. Hewlett Packard's first headquarters are in Packard's garage, according to MIT. That doesn't tell me shit. What the fuck did they invent? The fuck did they invent, nigga? Did they just say that shit randomly? Oh yeah, that's when this company was created. Yeah, congrats. Did they invent something yet? Fuck. Why are we bringing them up right now? German inventor and engineer Konrad Zuse completes his Z3 machine, the world's easiest digital computer, according to Gerard O'Regan's book. The machine was destroyed during a bombing raid on Berlin during the World War II. That sucks. Imagine all that. Like, yo, I just created some world evolutionary ass shit. Damn. It took me 20 years to build that. Yep. This is why I should have killed myself 10 years ago. Just gonna go do it now. You ain't even got to because there's another bomb coming. Anyway, that must have sucked. Atanosov and his graduate student Clifford Berry designed the first digital electronic computer in the U.S. called the Atanosov-Berry computer. This marks the first time a computer is able to store information on its own main memory. So, think of a CD and how you can plug it into a stereo and play music because there's memory on that thing. This right here is the first time main memory was even capable of performing one operation in every 15 seconds. So think about your song playing for 15 seconds and starting over. You can't even finish the rest of the album. You can't even finish the rest of the song, bro. That shit's playing for 15 seconds because that's how much memory it has. That's all it can do is play that little tiny tune over and over again for 15 seconds, and it's just going to keep doing it and 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 doing it. This is an operation at that. Anyway. Next, we got two professors at the University of Pennsylvania, John Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert, design and build the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Calculator, ENIAC. Sounds familiar. The machine is the first automatic general-purpose electronic decimal digital computer. Jesus Christ, that is the first thing to have the longest name ever. Fucking shit. According to Edwin D. Riley's book, Milestones in the Computer and Information Technology. Okay, IT. So this is what? General purpose, automatic general purpose electronic. This thing does not look. What is it spitting out at that point? You know? I want to know what it's spitting out. Calculations, like, are they running calculations for people? Maybe, right? Imagine that. You're just slinging calculations, automated calculations to people. Yeah, put these numbers in for us and tell us what the data looks like in a couple of days. We got you. 300,000. What? Yep. You ain't got this information, bro. You need 3,000 people to get that shit as quickly as we can get to you. Anyway, Mauchly and Presper leave the University of Pennsylvania and receive funding from the Census Bureau to build the UNIVAC, the first commercial computer for business and government applications. Okay. William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Bratton and the Bell Laboratories invent the transistor. Damn, the transistor didn't even exist yet, bro. Shit's already advancing. Like, the government already wants their fucking hand. Like, the government's already had their hands on this shit. And it doesn't even have a transistor yet. Okay. Without the need for, they discover how to make an electric switch with solid materials and without the need for a vacuum. A team at the University of Cambridge develops the electronic delay storage automatic calculator delay storage, like it stays there for a little while. The first practical stored program computer ran its first program when it calculated a table of squares and a list of prime numbers. Scientists with the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, now called CSIRO, built Australia's first digital computer called the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research Automatic Computer. Okay, what? Man. This fucking website sucks dick, bro. I could barely even fucking scroll through without it loading up on me. Bruh. Hi, Dad. How was your day, Dad? Terrible. I'm just playing. It was great. Did y'all win? Damn. How many games did you guys win on Friday? How many games did you guys win on Friday? No. Were they big games? Were they like, was it like, no, like, I meant like the score difference. Okay. Damn, bro. All right. I'm going to wrap this shit up. Lastly, well, we got a few. We got a fucking few. All right. We got William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Brattain, and the Bell Laboratories invent the transistor. We got that already. And then we got the little calculator thing. All right. Grace Hopper develops the first computer language. So, like, you telling me these shits, they were running programs without languages. I don't get that. Was she the first to establish it? Yeah, software. Common business oriented language. So it's like the first language model ever, bitch. What the fuck? Like, here's all the fucking data that we have. Put it into context so that we could. I don't even know what the purpose of this shit was. It helped to help the United Nations keep tabs on the Korea during the war. So was it like the first ever gigantic group chat, bro? Holy shit. That's what it's starting to sound like. John Baucus and his team of programmers at IBM published a paper describing their newly created Fortran programming. So now programming languages are hitting the fucking hay, or hitting the fucking, what is it? How do you just, like, program language would be, you run certain, you have to run them you have to type them a certain way. The syntax has to be a certain way in order for these things to be executed. And you basically build up a library within that programming language, I'm assuming. Like functions and elements and shit. So you consolidate a language and, I don't know. John Buck is in his team of programmers at according Jack Bill Kilby and Robert Noyce unveiled the integrated circuit known as the computer chip. Holy shit. Is this like the CPU thing? I don't know. Douglas and Engelbart reveals that's a name. Reveals a prototype of the modern computer at the fall joint. Oh my god. The fucking modern computer. This thing. What the fuck would you even do with this thing, bro? What the this thing looks like a polished piece of wood on top of a steel wheel. Think of like a cylinder wheel. Looks like it has a piece of rope connected to a fucking, what is this shit called? what's this cord called? It's the blue cord that has a bunch of prongs, and it's another. Is it like RGA? Is it? I don't know. It's the blue fucking cord that you have to twist to get in there. It looks like one of those things. No monitor. There's a red fucking button on it. I'm assuming that indicates that it's on, or potentially it's the power button. That thing looks like a fucking piece of wood with a plug in it. I don't even know. Ken Thompson and a group of developers that like, what the fuck do you do with that? I can't look at that thing and think of one thing. Including, oh wait, so he had a GUI? What? I don't, including a mouse and a graphical user interface. So the software contained a way to display what was actually inside of this fucking thing. They found a way to display it. And you were able to control it without a keyboard, it seems like. Because it says mouse and GUI, graphical user interface. Okay. Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, and a group of other developers at Bell Labs produce a Unix operating system at large-scale networking of device computing systems and the internet. Practical. The team behind Unix developed. I've heard Unix like my entire life. Still don't understand what it is though. Operating system using the there it is. The C programming language. Anytime I think of code, I think of how C is like the motherland, like the fucking like the last, like the last boss when you're about to finish the game, the hardest mission. Like you just look at it and you're like, yo, I gotta get there one day. That's just what I've always seen C as. I feel like it's always been this like glorified thing. Like people praise it for some reason. I'm not deep enough in the game to really break it down and understand it, but I've always heard about it. The newly formed Intel unveils the Intel 1103, the first dynamic access memory, DRAM, so random access memory. And then a group of engineers, that's 1970. So 1971 now, a team of IBM engineers led, the floppy disk. Discs weren't even in, like, this was the tape recorders and shit, bro. Like, what? Enabling data to be shared among different computers. Ralph Baer, junior engineer. So the floppy disk was basically think of an SD card, think of a thumb drive, think of a CD, but literally like, it was like a disc you inject. You had to, before you would just flip a bunch of buttons, like flip a bunch of switches in a certain order, and it would perform certain tasks. Then you give it software, which could probably only live on that computer. I don't even know how that works, but you give it software somehow, and now you can perform those operations without clicking all those buttons. You just click a few less buttons, and now you just perform the task through the software. I guess I don't know yet. Maybe I still don't understand what software is at the time. If a floppy disk wasn't invented, like how do you move software to different PCs without a floppy disk? I don't know. But now that the floppy disk is here, you basically program. You get a blank floppy disk, just like you get a blank CD. You plug it in. You get your files. You place it onto this floppy disk. You basically like print them in there. You fill it up with the memory. You take it out, put it in a different one. Make a copy on there. I don't even know if you can do this, but if you leave the computer on, you probably were able to make a copy on there. Take it out, put a new one in, paste the copy on there. Like that would, like, you had to manually transfer files. You could not just drag and drop. You had to command line that bitch, copy this file, into this file on this floppy disk. Enter like you had to in order to copy programs onto other floppy disks, and then they found a way to fucking scale that shit. So that alone back then was a huge accomplishment, and now we literally have 128 gig SD cards, micro SD cards, bro, micro, 128 gigs. Ralph Baer, German engineer, releases Magnavox Odyssey, the world's first home game console. Wow. Game console. What? That's how far that's how they started putting games on this bitch. Think about a phone. It used to just be buttons, right? Nothing, no screen. Then they turned that little fucker into a small, tiny device, and you were able to play Snake on it. So once games start getting involved, you know you're going somewhere. You know you got something to work with. Robert Metcalf, a member of the research staff for Xerox, develops Ethernet for connecting multiple computers and other hardware. So now, this is cool. I could actually explain this one. So now, instead of just plugging in one floppy disk and another floppy disk to the same computer to copy a file back and forth, you can plug in one floppy disk, connect other computers to the same network, which is probably that PC with the floppy disk in it, and now you can transfer your information onto your floppy disk at the same time, I'm assuming. So now if all you have one floppy disk installed into your computer, like physically installed, I'm not talking about fucking down like when you would get the disk and to get the shit. Damn, this is crazy. I remember my dad had a laptop that required him to put a DVD in there in order for it to fucking update. Oh, like damn, how long do these bitches take? How long did it take them for us to download, to literally hit the button install software update? How easy is it now versus 1972? Man, like think about the PS2 memory cards, bro. Like we was lucky to have like a 32 megabyte one. We had like the average 8. Man. And then PS3 said memory cards, yeah, you don't need them anymore. Okay. Robert Metcalf, a member of the research, developed the Commodore. Man, this is another game, isn't it? Personal electronic transactor PET is released onto the computer market featuring a MOS technology, 8-bit 6502 microprocessor, which controls the screen, keyboard, and cassette player. The PET is especially successful for the education market, according to O'Regan. 1975, the magazine cover of the January issue of the Popular Electron. This is 10 years before the Macintosh situation happened. This is 10 years before. This is 9 years before Michael Jordan was drafted. I can't think of anything historical that happened in 1984 and 1985 other than those two things. Magic and Bird were tearing shit up around this time. Paul Allen and Bill Gates offered to write software for the Altair using the basic language. After seeing the magazine issue, two computer geeks, Paul Allen and Bill Gates, offered to write software for the Altair using the new basic language. On April 4th, after the successful endeavor, the two childhood friends formed their own software company, Microsoft. 1975. 1976. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak co-founded Apple. On April Fool's Day, they unveiled the Apple I, the first computer with a single circuit board and ROM, ready-only memory, according to MIT. So, compared to this first device that I seen that didn't have a screen on it, I'm assuming this doesn't even have a mouse yet. This is simply just, so it's like the other one didn't have a keyboard. This one just has a mouse. This one doesn't have a mouse. It has a screen and everything. I like this. This is the Apple One. All right. 1977. Oh, come on, bro. This thing just took me all the way to 2010. Radio Shack began its initial production run of the 3000 TRS-80 Model 1. Computers despairingly known as the Trash 80. Priced at $599 according to the National Museum of American History. Within a year, the company took 250,000 orders for the computer according to the book. Don't know what that... Okay. The first I gotta stop reading these. VisiCalc. The first computerized spreadsheet is introduced. Nice. Spreadsheet. They're fucking thrown around now, and yet companies still this shit these it's not even spreadsheets, it's CSV. Comma separated values and tables are literally the backbone to data analysts and shit like that. Things in tables, bro. And then we've built so much from the spreadsheet, bro. This is a spreadsheet. I'm sorry, but this is a fucking spreadsheet, and that is 1978. 1977, the first West Coast computer company. A computer fair is held in San Francisco. Jobs and Wozniak present the Apple II computer at the fair, which includes color graphics and features an audio cassette drive for storage. 1979, international. So that's 1977. Okay. Founded by software engineer Seymour Rubinstein, releases WordStar, the world's first WordStar. My dumbass. WordStar, the first commercially successful word processor. WordStar is programmed by Rob Barnaby and includes 137,000 lines of code, according to Matthew G. Wow. Acorn, IBM's first personal computer, is released onto the market at a price point of $1,565,000, according to IBM. Acorn uses the MS-DOS, Microsoft Dirty Operating System, from Windows. MS-DOS, Windows, MS-DOS, Windows, Dirty Operating System, but they spelled it differently. Optional features include a display, printer, 2 diskette drives, extra memory, a game adapter, and more. So they kind of gave you everything. 1983, the Apple Lisa, standing for Local Integrated Software Architecture, but also named, Steve Jobs' daughter, is the first personal computer to feature a GUI, graphical user interface, which confuses me about what happened earlier with the dude who invented it with that little weird one. I don't understand how that works. The machine also includes a drop-down menu and icon, so you get to play with the GUI and interact with it. Also, this year, the Galvin SC released its first portable computer with a flip form designed to the very first thing to be sold as a laptop. 1984, or 10 years down the line, Michael Jordan is drafted by now? Or does he have his first ring? Yeah, no, he's drafted by now. Michael Jordan is drafted. The Apple Macintosh is released. For some reason, this one had a lot of hype. And then Microsoft releases their computer the year later and wipes Apple off the fucking map because they understood give them everything they want. Give them a little bit of everything, and then the GUI, Steve Jobs and him did the GUI thing, and they said, that'd be perfect with this Windows machine. Took the fucking shit. Took the cake. Commodore announces theirs too. 1989, the Tim Berners-Lee, a British researcher at the European Organization of Nuclear Research, submits his proposal for what could become the World Wide Web. His paper details his idea for the hypertext markup language, HTML, JavaScript, CSS. The Pentium microprocessor advances use of graphics and music on PCs. Oh shit. 1993. So music was already on and popping back then. You just had to use it on cassette tapes and CD players. You never really intertwine these things with computers, I'm assuming. And then they found a way to make that happen. They just converted the language. Sergey Brin, in 1996, Sergey Brin and Larry Page developed the Google search engine. Oh, fuck. That was 96. That was the year my brother was born. Holy shit. That is when Kobe was drafted. Michael Jordan was a champion by this time. 11 years later, he's a champion. Solidified champion. And Microsoft invests $150 million in Apple, which at the time was struggling financially. This is when Steve Jobs came back when his little hiatus from his when he got fired and shit because the Macintosh failed. So when Jordan got drafted, Steve Jobs and them were failing miserably, or about to fail miserably. And then by the time Kobe was drafted, they were Steve Jobs had just got hired again, and then they created the Mac, the color for Macs, and then the rest was history. So, point is, Kobe's the GOAT. Microsoft invests 100. Yep. Okay. 1999, the year I was born. Would you look at that? Wi-Fi, bitch. I was the start of a new era. What could I say? Now I'm relying on Wi-Fi like a motherfucker, even though I'm hardwired in everything that I'm using right now except for my phone. Damn. Anyway, yeah. Wi-Fi, the abbreviated term for wireless fidelity, is developed internally covering a distance up to 300 feet, 91 meters. Wow. Oh, holy shit. 1999. Oh, that's all I want to say. Y'all welcome. 1999 babies is the one. 2001 Mac OS X, later renamed OS X and simply Mac OS, is released by Apple as the successor to its standard Mac operating system. OS X goes through 16 different versions, each with 10 as its title, and its first 9 iterations are nicknamed after big cats, when the first being codenamed Cheetah. AMD's in 2003, AMD stepped into the picture with their 64-bit processor for computers. In 2004, the Mozilla launches their Firefox. The web browser is one of the first major challenges to Internet Explorer. Owned by Microsoft, during its first 5 years, Firefox exceeded $1 billion download by users, according to the web. Google buys Android in 2005, a Linux-based mobile phone operating system. 05? 05? Damn. 2006, the MacBook Pro from Apple hits the shelves. The Pro is the company's first Intel-based dual-core mobile computer. 2009, Microsoft launches their new operating system features the ability to pin applications. So at this point, the operating system was basically just getting better. Now the computers had operating systems in them instead of floppy disks that lived on the computer already. The mouse is already integrated. Jesus Christ, computers are like a lot different than having to turn on a bunch of different switches and shit. This doesn't really go in depth that much. 2010, the iPad gets released. They didn't even talk about the iPhone, bro. What? You talk about the iPad before the iPhone? Am I reading this right? I think whoever wrote this shit got lazy as fuck, bro. What the fuck? So you telling me we talked about we didn't even introduce touchscreen devices. I guess, well, whatever. Yeah, it goes all the way to 2017. That was at least the iPhone 7. Holy shit. We're on the iPhone 15 now. We're going to the iPhone 15. That is a crazy thing to fucking think about. Yeah. So, technology. I wish this article had better data behind it, or more in-depth points. But it is what it is. Things I'm grateful for. Finally being able to get that fucking first version of the site up and running. It just needs an API, and then that's the next mountain to climb. Grateful for that. Grateful for the patience. Grateful I got to spend time with my brother, my niece, and his wife today. My mom's coming on the Friday. Get to see my boy JJ on Monday. It's gonna be a good week. Grateful that I could work from home now. Shit. So yeah. That's probably gonna be it for my high ass. And that is the history of computers. Probably gonna turn this into more of a video that I could write now that I actually have brainstorming down. Um, yeah, this is like definitely like it has potential to be better, I guess. So shout out to livescience.com, but I'm probably gonna go more in depth for you guys based off this article. So thank you for your time. Whoever wrote this by Timothy Williamson. He wrote this in 2021, December 1st. Good shit, brother. Livescience.com. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next one or don't. It's up to y'all. No one's watching this shit, so we Gucci. But yeah, I'm out this motherfucker.